What's up, guys? Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. In this video, I'm just going to talk about some of my observations from the Bulls preseason games. I really want to talk about the offensive changes, the defensive changes, Billy Donovan, how he's doing, and also the five main guys for the Bulls, known as the young core. You can probably guess who those five guys are, and talk about how they're playing and how they played in the first four games. But before we get into that, though, make sure you hit that like button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this because, this is going to be a really positive video about the Bulls, which is, something that we haven't done in a long time. Bulls went 3-1 in their preseason. I have to say I was thoroughly impressed with how well most of the time they played. Obviously, in the first game, they lost to the Rockets, and then, the last three games they won. I have to say in games 2 and 3 were definitely their best games, game 3 being their best. But I do think there were positives in every single game. And I'm going to start on the offensive side. Throughout all four games, including that Rockets horrible game, our first game that we lost terribly, I really think that the offense for the Bulls has actually been really solid. And I haven't had that many issues with the offense at all. Obviously, I know it's preseason, but Billy Donovan and his offense, no matter what, has generated looks every single game. And it's just a matter of if these players for the Bulls can knock it down. And I really think that this offense has done its job, is that it generates looks, it creates opportunities, it fits to everyone's play style. It's getting guys involved. And the main thing is that everyone is very unselfish on this team. So even in that horrible Rockets game, and you can even argue in game 4, where the Bulls kind of struggle with their main guys in the second and third quarters, you can see that the offense is moving. It is constantly moving, and I'm not going to be breaking down any videos because I really do think all Bulls fans can see that the offense is much better. But even when it looked like the offense was doing bad, the offense was moving perfectly fine, and it was generating looks. It was just a matter of if guys can knock down their shots, which there were obviously times they did not, and if guys were making the right pass. There were a lot of times I saw that the Bulls would make the wrong passes, which it would look like the offense is ugly. But in reality, I think the offense wasn't the offense was never stagnant. I wouldn't ever call it ugly. I think the offense is doing perfectly fine throughout all four games. But it's a matter of if the guys can knock down their shots and make the right passes, because obviously making the wrong pass is going to lead to turnovers. But overall, with the offense, I am very, very happy with Billy Donovan's offense. Everything that I wanted him to do for this Bulls team, he has done it. There's a lot of just great opportunities for guys, especially our main scorers, which in Levine and Kobe White, as I said in previous videos, that, Billy Donovan's offense, it really helps the guards. It really helps the ball handlers. And he has done a fantastic job in getting Larry Markkinen involved in this offense, even when he is struggling. And I really do think that as much as Wendell Carter Jr. has struggled offensively with his three-point shot, Wendell Carter Jr. has had a really good preseason in terms of being able to pass the ball as a high-post center man, kind of like how the Bulls used Joakim Noah when he was on the team. Wendell Carter Jr. at the high post has opened up so much for this offense, and while he may not get the assist, he may not, nothing will show up in the box score for him, and I know he's not knocking down his three-point shot, which I think will come eventually, but Wendell Carter Jr. as a facilitator in the high post has done so much for this offense, and even in Game 4, last game on Friday, you could see that Wendell Carter Jr. is a really good passer. He had an alley-oop to Larry Markkinen from the high post that was fantastic. He has done so much in that high post area, and it's really good to see that. Defensively, you can already tell that this team is not going to go anywhere without having a good defense. The wins for this team this upcoming season is going to depend if they play good defense or not. And I'm not just saying good defense individually, but I mean collectively. Because right now, as you can see, I would argue that Zach Levine was probably the best defender on the Bulls for the preseason. And that's actually, that can only be a good thing, because I think Chandler Hutchison did a great job defensively. Even Patrick Williams was really good defensively. OPJ was pretty okay defensively. And I think Wendell Carter Jr. was overall, in terms of in the pick and roll where he kind of struggled last year, he did a pretty decent job defensively. But this team has a lot to work on the defensive end. As we saw in Game 1, it was more just like they haven't played in a long time. It was very clear that guys were not used to the new defensive system. And obviously, it's going to take a while, but they also just need to bring the energy on the defensive end because if they don't play defense, this team is not going to win games. So, as we saw, though, the main thing was that in games 2, games 3, and games 4, the defense was much better. Now, in game 4, I think the defense wasn't very good in the second quarter, the third quarter, and half of the first quarter. But at the beginning of the game and at the end of the game, in game 4, they did a really good job defensively. But games 2 and 3 were obviously their best defensive performances, and it was more just being able to communicate with each other better. Guys were, making sure that they're going after the ball in transition, making sure they stop it before it gets right to the paint. It's more just about trying with this defense. And Billy Donovan, I think with the drop coverage in the pick and roll, has done a really good job of making sure that guys don't have to rotate as much. And when guys do have to rotate, they're actually doing a really good job getting to their spots. Again, though, everyone has to be on the same page defensively for this team to be good on the defensive end. Overall, I have to say on both sides, I am very, very happy from what I saw. Obviously, I don't expect this team, with just a new offensive system, new defensive system, to become a playoff team. But the main thing I'm looking at this season is if these Bulls players can break their bad habits that they had under Jim Boylen. For the most part, though, I think in the preseason they've done that. And I have to say I'm very much pleased to see, especially offensively, where the off-ball movement, the ball movement, guys are getting to their spots and guys are looking for each other a lot. This Bulls offense can really, do some incredible things if they just keep moving, and they've done that in the preseason. And obviously, talk about the offensive defense, it's all a credit to Billy Donovan. I have to say that I was really, really impressed with the adjustments he made from game 1 to game 2. He saw, in game 1 against the Houston Rockets where they struggled a lot defensively, but, a lot of it was due to effort, but it was also just the coverage wasn't working because Boogie Cousins can shoot that three-point shot really well, and John Wall clearly is still John Wall. So in game 2, what they did is that they made sure that, under the pick and roll, they forced John Wall to try to take as many threes as possible. So as you can see, he took 6 threes this game, and he made 2, which is still pretty good for John Wall. But they tried to make sure that they went under the screen in the pick and roll situation against John Wall. Kobe White did a really good job adjusting from game 1 to game 2, and he forced John Wall to take more jump shots than allowing John Wall to get a straight line drive to the rim. And what they also did, and going on the pick and roll allows this, is that even though Wendell Carter Jr. was in a drop coverage, it allowed him to be up a little bit more in the pick and roll, which then allowed him to get out to Boogie Cousins and contest the shot much better. So Billy Donovan, just from one game, and its preseason game, was able to adjust very, very quickly and effectively and implement it into this team in just 2 days, and then the team carried it out defensively. So it was really good to see that from Billy Donovan. I think he's done a really good job defensively making the adjustments. And then obviously offensively, I've already talked about with the offense. Like Billy Donovan's offense is all about ball movement, and he has allowed his guys to take the shots that they're supposed to be taking, aka the mid-range shot. A lot of the time, Kobe White was taking mid-range shots. We saw Zach Levine hit those mid-range shots when he's wide open, and Lauri Markkanen is very obviously trying to get to the rim much more, and that's only a good thing. And that's exactly what I wanted to see from those guys, and I'm happy to see that Billy Donovan understands the types of players that he has on the roster. Moving on to the 5 guys for the Bulls, which is their future. Start with the point guard with Kobe White. I have to say with Kobe White that I have overall from the preseason, I am very, very happy with his performance. Obviously, games 2 and 3 were the main games for him, where he really showed his offensive capabilities, and it wasn't just him being as a point guard or the main ball handler. Like he was able to come off screens in a floppy action with Zach Levine handling the ball or Patrick Williams handling the ball, and he was able to take some jump shots off some stagger screens. Like he did he showed everything offensively in his arsenal. I was happy to see with Kobe White. Obviously, game 4 he struggled a lot, and the main thing with Kobe White though that I have to say is he took some major steps in his playmaking abilities. Especially off the pick and roll, he is finding guys, and it may not always show up in the box score in the assists category, but he is finding his guys off the pick and roll, especially in the half-court sets. So, great job with Kobe White with that. He obviously still needs to work on his ability to break down as a defender one-on-one, and that's where he kind of gets in trouble is when he starts going too fast, and he'll hesitate, and he still has some trouble breaking down his man one-on-one, but obviously I think that's something he's going to just have to keep working on, because remember, this is his sophomore year. Zach Levine now. I don't think I really need to say anything else but Zach Levine is that he's Zach Levine, and he is doing amazing. I think Game 4 was like his most strugglish game in terms of, missing shots, but Zach Levine is a bucket no matter where he is on the floor, and we saw that in all 4 games. And I said this earlier in this video. I think he was actually arguably the best defender for the Bulls in the preseason games. He has done a fantastic job individually, against his own matchup defensively. And one of the things I keep telling people is that Zach Levine has always been a really decent on-ball defender. He's obviously taken that decency to being really solid and even good at times. But the main problem with Zach Levine is his off-ball defense. He kind of gets lost. He gets caught ball watching. But what people don't understand is that his off-ball defense has actually been pretty okay in the preseason, and it's allowed him to look like his on-ball defense is better because he's in better position for when his guy catches the ball. He's already in a better position for him to recover or get back to his guy and not allow his guy a direct line drive to the rim. He's done a much better job of that, and that was the main thing he needed to address. His on-ball defense, again, has been really solid throughout his entire career. It's his off-ball defense, which was the main issue, where he just would be lost and, not be in rotation or just leave his guy completely wide open. He has not done that at all this preseason. He has done a really decent job of making sure he's on his guy, or make sure that his guy, when he catches the ball, that he is in position to guard him. So Zach Levine, I think, has showed that he is becoming the superstar that we really need him to become. Obviously, I still don't think that Zach Levine can be the main guy on a championship caliber roster, but he can obviously be a major piece for this Bulls team moving forward. Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams has really shown me everything that I thought he would be. After you're done watching this video, go watch my Patrick Williams video on his offense and defense. I made 2 videos on Patrick Williams, and everything that I said in those videos has basically come to form on the NBA court. I said he has a really good mid-range jumper, and we've seen that. I said he has a really good ball handling ability, and we've seen that as well. I think he's a pretty underrated passer, and we haven't really seen too much of that, but he has underrated passing ability, and I think people did not really talk about that as much, but he's shown that he can be a passer. And obviously, we all talked about his defense and versatility. He absolutely showed that in the preseason, and much, much more, because he has been able to guard a lot of positions, and I was not expecting him to get so many blocks and steals in just a short amount of time. But obviously, he still needs to work on that three-point shot. I said that in my videos. He's more comfortable shooting from the corner 3 than he is from anywhere else. And the thing is that we did see him kind of miss some threes really badly, but he also made some threes that were pretty tough to make. So it's obviously something he needs to work on, and don't be upset at me when I say that he needs to work on his three-point shot. I've gotten attacked on Twitter for some odd reason for saying he needs to work on his three-point shot, even though I've said that of all the other things that he's really good at already. But obviously, I didn't expect Patrick Williams to come in and, be like a great, three-point shooter. He is a rookie. He's going to have to work on things, and I expect him to work on those things as he moves along in his career. Lauri Markkanen. All right. Now we're getting to the kind of the big stuff about this preseason, because Bulls fans have obviously seen with Lauri Markkanen that he has not been exactly what we want in a preseason. His, mentality has obviously changed for the better, and he's driving to the rim much more. I actually think he's been more confident, and he's taking a lot more shots, which is good to see. I want Lauri Markkanen to keep shooting, but he obviously needs to knock down those shots. And clearly, I think it was this game, game 2, he went 1 for 10, and that was not good to see. Even though the Bulls offensively were doing pretty well. Lauri Markkanen did not do well this game. He was okay in this game, but 4 for 15 shooting in game 3. And obviously, though, game 4, he showed up. He, I think he put in 22. Yeah, put in 22 points in game 4. But the other 3 games were not exactly amazing, and especially game 2 was not the best, performance by him. So the thing with Lauri Markkanen, what I'm seeing, as I said earlier, is that his mentality has changed. He's not just, the standing in the corner, and this is obviously, from Billy Donovan, but he's not just the shooter in the corner anymore, and he's definitely getting more involved. We've seen a lot of pick and roll between him and Wendell Carter Jr., which is great to see. But I do think that where I get worried is, in a shooting night like this, I start to worry because we saw in this game that he's starting to have to take some of the shots when he was wide open. my main thing for him is that I want him to drive to the basket more. And he's done that this preseason, but I want to see it more because, maybe the 3-point shot isn't there immediately at the start of the game for him. But if he sees a few shots go in and he starts getting himself to the free throw line, then he can start extending himself out to the 3-point line, which can only help him, right? So I hope to see him, obviously just start attacking the rim more, attacking his matchup more, and not always settling for the 3-point shot. Defensively, he has not been great. I will say that. And especially at center, like there is a major difference from when Wendell Carter Jr. is playing center to then when Lauri Markkanen plays center. Like there is a humongous difference, and it's kind of hard to see at times because Lauri Markkanen, he's done a pretty decent job rebounding, but at the center position, he's not done the best job rebounding. And also just rim protection wise and just being in the pick and roll. When he's playing center, the opposing team puts him immediately into the pick and roll. So that's obviously something he needs to work on this season. And obviously his extensions, his deadline for extensions coming up, and I think it's actually the day when this video drops, is something that he is going to have to work on. And I'm hoping he just gains more confidence from the Billy Donovan system, which is obviously fitting him pretty well, but also that he starts knocking down more shots for the Bulls when the season gets going. Finally, Wendell Carter Jr. Now, talked about earlier, Wendell Carter Jr. in the high post and his passing ability has just been absolute plus for this Bulls offense, and this Bulls offense wouldn't be what it is right now without Wendell Carter Jr. in the high post. Obviously, though, he struggled with his shot, and I have to keep reminding people what Wendell Carter Jr. is. Like, people, when he started saying, like, watch out for my 3-point shot, or, like, he's more involved in offense, like, people need to understand with Wendell Carter Jr. that he is not a scorer, and he has never been a scorer. Like, his numbers at Duke are basically kind of what they are right now in his career, but we have to understand something, that Wendell Carter Jr. is a team player. He is not, his main priority is not scoring the ball. Like, he is not a Zach Levine, he is not a Lauri Markkanen. He brings so much more to the table, though, in terms of defense, his passing ability, his pick and roll ability, and etc. But the main thing is this. Wendell Carter Jr., I think from the preseason, he has done a pretty okay job defensively. And I say this, though, because we saw what happens when Daniel Gafford and Lauri Markkanen are playing center. The defense for the Bulls really struggles when those two are on the court at the center position. But when Wendell Carter Jr. is out there, it's clearly much better. And I want you guys to look for that as the season starts. But he's done a pretty decent job as a center. He's having to adjust to a totally different defensive system. I think he's done a pretty decent job in this new defensive system, being the drop man. But I do think he needs to do better individually on defense, as DeMarcus Cousins and Al Horford did kind of have their way against him. But in terms of pick and roll and stopping the guards, he's done a pretty decent job with that. In terms of high post ability, again, I keep talking about this. His passing ability has been really, really good. Including this game, his stat line was 8, 6, and 6. But again, 6 assists from your center is really solid, especially in this team where it doesn't have like a legit point guard. So him being able to pass the ball is really, really big for this offense, and it's a major part of this offense. And hopefully he can continue doing that in the regular season. Obviously, the 3-point shot has not been great. Obviously, he only hit one during the preseason, and it was a corner 3-point shot. I think he went either 1 for 16 or 1 for 19 in the preseason from 3. Yes, it's not good. It doesn't look good. But the thing with Wendell Carter Jr. is, again, he's not supposed to be the scorer. He is supposed to be a team player, and that's what I love about him. And I do think that this 3-point shot is going to come, because his misses, like, they're not bad misses. Like, we saw Patrick Williams with some of his 3-point shots, like, they just barely make it to the iron. Wendell Carter Jr.'s 3-point shots, no matter where he shot it from, they're all basically online. They just don't go in. So I think once this, regular season starts, one, he's not going to shoot as many, but number two, you're going to see him actually start hitting those shots, because it's just a matter of time before he starts hitting them. And we saw in the preseason that he can hit that 16-footer. Like, he can hit that 16 to 18-foot shot pretty easily. So his shooting ability, his form, it's not like it's bad. And I think he will eventually start, hitting those shots. And I think in this specific game, in Game 4, was probably his best game overall in terms of, best game defensively overall, in terms of being individually. He was pretty good on defense. And also just, though, his passing ability, and he was able to hit some post shots in this game as well. But we saw the 2 blocks in this game, too, where like he is a rim protector, and he may not get that block shot that shows up in the box score, but he has still shown the ability to really change shots at the rim. Obviously, though, this is development season, and no one's safe on this team. But I do think that Wendell Carter Jr. is going to be a part of this Bulls team moving forward because, we, especially with AK at the front office and Billy Donovan as head coach, like they value centers that are able to be in the high post and be able to pass the ball. And that's what Wendell Carter Jr. is. And if he gets that three-point shot down, he has become a major threat on the offensive end, not from scoring ability, but from passing ability and being able to find teammates and create open looks. So I wouldn't say that for especially Larry Markkinen, or our big man, Larry Markkinen and Wendell Carter Jr. for the preseason, I wouldn't say overall that they were a positive. I think both were basically a negative, but there are positives from this preseason for both of them. Obviously, with Wendell Carter Jr. in the high post, being more involved in the offense, and Larry Markkinen, his mentality has changed, and he is obviously more confident in his shot, and he's just not the three-point shooter in the corner anymore. That's my thoughts on the 5 main guys for the Bulls moving forward. Overall, though, as a team, and I'm including the bench in this as well, it's really solid. I have to say I'm really excited to see how this Bulls team performs in the regular season because this team, I'm not expecting them to be a playoff team, especially with the Eastern Conference getting much tougher. But I really do think that they can be in contention for, the play-in tournament. And they'll probably lose it because they're a young team. But just getting to that point where they're breaking bad habits, they're starting to form winning habits, they're playing together as a team, forming that team chemistry. It's important to see that this team develops. And that's all I'm really looking for. And just through 4 games from the preseason, I think this team has developed really, really well. And I hope they continue this development and improvement moving forward into the regular season. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. Hope you guys are all staying safe during this tough time for the world right now. And I'll see you guys in the next Bulls video. Peace.